Hello everybody and welcome to the chassis variant series. Once again myself, Critical Rocket. We're moving on to the Highlanders. Ah yes, the mech that inspired the name the Highlander Burial due to its ability to jump jet into the air and land on smaller opponents, crushing them flat into the ground in one of the most spectacularly gory displays of mech-on-mech action in the Battletech universe. The Highlander is a gorgeous assault mech at 90 tons. It was developed in the 2500s and served with the Star League Defence Force for several centuries before it was eventually written off as the Gauss-toting city and installation defender that it was originally intended to be. This was mainly due to the fact that a lot of the tech involved in its construction was lost over the years, and although the Highlander didn't completely vanish during the Succession Wars, it did become a rarer sight, especially ones with Gauss rifles, and afterwards there were several downgrades. Now the 733P, which we're looking at here, is one of those downgrades. In an effort to try and keep the mech in action during its Succession War years, the mech had a few modifications, namely removal of things like ferrofibrous armour or endosteel chassis, but most importantly due to the fact that Gauss rifles were near impossible to make after a certain point. The weapon would have to be changed. Now the 733 series is a sort of a generation of Highlanders that had certain changes made to them, with the original 733 being one that swapped down to an AC-20 instead of a Gauss, and then the C variant which had the AC-10, and this version which went more energy focused with the PPC instead. Keeping with the 10 points of damage but making it less ammo reliant. The Highlander has always been a very similar kind of mech in all of its builds, in the sense that it always comes pretty much with an LRM-20 and an SRM and a few medium lasers, its main difference being its right arm weaponry, which could also be argued to be its biggest punch. It's an all-round mech. It seems to be part of the problems with 90 tonners, in my opinion, is that a lot of them do seem to suffer from the fact that they're not as quick as the 80-odd tons, and they're not as heavily armoured as the 95 to 100 tonners. They exist in this strange quasi zone where they're very specific. It's like the Cyclops is kind of a mini Atlas, and the Highlander is also a kind of mini Atlas, I guess you could say, with the LRM and the big ballistics weapon and an SRM and a couple backup lasers. However, I think the Highlander is a pretty cool looking mech. PGI did a very good job remaking this a few years back now. It was one of the mechs that used to have its hero mech launched before the normal Seabill version arrived in the game, back at the time when they were doing that as a revenue generator. So the Highlander's been in the game for quite a while, and you don't see them as often. I don't think they're not as popular, and I think that's partially to do with the weight position that it sort of inhabits at 90 tons, as I said. So this version is a 3 missile and 4 energy hardpoint version. The energy hardpoints are all split to the right side of the mech, torso and arm, and the missiles are in the left side of the mech. The CT on all Highlanders is completely empty. There are no hardpoints within those sections of the mech. No variant does that. So a bit like a mech like a Phoenix Hawk and the such, if you start to, or the Zeus is probably more accurate, if you start losing side torsos, you're going to be losing a significant chunk of your weaponry, in the sense that like one side's got all your missiles, one side's got all your energy, so you've got to be very careful with how you do that. And many pilots will be aware that shooting the right side of a Highlander is going to be way more punishing than shooting the left side, so always be aware of that when it does happen. When you do get people getting up in your face. However, I do quite like the Highlanders, although I'm not the best assault pilot in the world. I do get lucky sometimes. I'm very comfortable in mechs like the Awesome, but even though I really like the Highlander, I am not the best Highlander pilot in MWO by any stretch. One of its main draws is the fact that it's a jump-capable assault, which there aren't a lot of those. The Victor being one of the first ones that jumps to mind. Nope, can't think of any others. There probably is, and I'm just forgetting. But yeah. Oh, I ruined that quick draws, Dave. Sorry, quick draw pilot. But yeah, That was one of the main things for the Highlander, was it was slightly more manoeuvrable and agile than other assault mechs, especially at 90 tons. It's quite an improvement. There is an Atlas version that comes with jump jets, which is just crazy. But yeah, this one is good if you want all energy, and it's not a terrible thing. So yeah, I'd give it a go. If you haven't had a go of the Highlanders, this isn't a bad version to pick up. If you want something that's less focused on the ballistics and ammo side of things and more on the energy side of things with a few missile backup points. But I believe this round is virtually over. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!